Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending our first hashtag Stall for All town hall. Tonight's topic is going to be about economy and business. As many of you know, my name is Amber Faith. I am the campaign manager for the Judy Stall campaign, and I will be moderating for this evening. Also on the call with me is Sam Wright, our events manager. She was a huge help in planning this event, and the following town halls we'll be having in our series. So big thank you to her. She will also be helping with some of the moderation this evening. As many of you know, Judy Stahl is a business owner. She has managed her own business for over 28 years in this district. And so she is directly in touch with what business owners and workers in this district go through every day and the challenges they face. I know I, for one, am looking forward to hearing her insight on these challenges and the solutions she's planning on bringing forward to the state legislature. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts as well. All of the questions that will be asked tonight were submitted by yourselves, the voters. And time allowing, we will be opening up the floor for more questions. So if you do have a pressing issue you would like to hear Judy address, feel free to use the question and answer function in the Zoom webinar. Or you can contact us later at info@judystall.com if you don't remember it right away. That being said, I am going to go ahead and hand over the floor to our next state representative from Legislative District 1, Judy Stahl, for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Amber. And welcome to everyone who's here for our Economy and Business Town Hall. I am Judy Stahl, running for Arizona State House of Representatives for Legislative District 1. I have in fact had my own business here in Prescott since 1992, which I started on my own and kind of pulled myself up by my bootstraps and learned as I went along, and have had great success in helping people in my business. I will tell you that during this pandemic, it's been very challenging because I am a massage therapist and a massage therapy educator, among other hats that I wear. And with the pandemic, it has been required for me to stop my private practice because of the amount of time I would be spending in a room alone with a client. So I know that many of you have experienced challenges way beyond what you planned on when you opened a business, because none of us saw this pandemic coming. But I do hope to, when elected, be able to be a strong voice for our rural district and making sure that we address the needs of our economy. For those of us who live up the hill in my district, we pay what's called a pine cone tax. So it's more expensive to live here than it is other places in the state. How in a rural economy where it's more expensive to live, do you get a small business going and make it go? We're going to talk about that today. So thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to your questions brought forward as well, and continuing the conversation, because I don't have all the answers, and I'm absolutely going to be listening when elected as well on what we can do together to have a thriving economy in LD1.
Great, thank you, Judy. So again, I just want to thank everyone who signed on to the webinar, and thank you to everyone who's watching on Facebook Live. If you are watching on Facebook Live, feel free to share this and recruit more people to check us out. It's the goal of this campaign, as directed by Judy, to reach every voter if possible, which it is possible. We're going to do it. And so one way to do that is by showcasing this town hall. And if you are willing to do that on our behalf, I know we would be really appreciative. So on that note, let's go and get started. We're going to be covering 4 topics of questions based on the submissions that were sent in earlier. So our topics are going to be economic growth, supporting workers, COVID-19 and business, and of course, the green economy. So starting off with questions on economic growth. Judy, your first question is, as a small business owner yourself, what do you think needs to be done in order to support growing entrepreneurship in LD1?
Thank you for the question. I think that what we need to have is an environment that welcomes entrepreneurs and make sure that they have a place in our economy throughout our district. So making sure that we have affordable housing. That's not as easily said as done, apparently. In Prescott, at the very least, we recently built housing that was meant to be for more low-income folks who are trying to get a foothold. And it's turned out that that housing has turned out to be pretty darn expensive. And so we're going to have to work at this to make sure that we have an environment that allows for folks to make a living and then actually grow a business here in this district. We need to provide potentially tax incentives and accessible loans and mentorship for folks who want to get a business started, who've got great ideas so that they can be creative in a 21st century economy.
Great. Okay, and your next question is actually related to something you just touched upon. So, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong thing. Given the high quality schools are necessary to enticing new business to a community and preparing a new generation to enter the workforce, how will you ensure that LD1 schools have the resources they need?
Well, thank you for that question, because my number one issue is making sure that we have fully funded education in Arizona in this district. We are a rural district, and throughout our state, we have not taken care of our education funding, and you cannot have a thriving economy if you don't have decent schools. So that's one of the first things that I would do. We need these high quality schools so that we can have businesses want to relocate here and raise their children here. I've got the support of many who are in small business in the state right now, in our district right now, and they are working hard both as entrepreneurs and as parents. So we want to make sure that at least on the education front, that the state legislature does what we can do to make sure that these parents can be at ease, that their children are receiving a top quality education. That means providing the funding. We also want to make sure that we've got competitive wages here so that these new businesses are able to pay their workers at a wage that will allow them to continue to work for this business and not have to look elsewhere in order to make their living. And one of the initiatives that's going on right now that I think is going to help is the Invest in Ed initiative brought forward by the voters, and now going to be on the ballot. We want to approve Invest in Ed and make sure that we are providing for our education system in whatever ways we can so that new businesses can locate here in the district and provide for their families a great education as they grow their businesses.
Wonderful. Okay, next question. All right, now more than ever, reliable access to the internet is a requirement for a successful economy and to successfully run a business. Currently, less than 40% of rural households in Arizona have reliable broadband access. How will you change this?
I will change this. It's completely unacceptable that only 40% of rural households in Arizona have broadband access, reliable broadband access. We have a technology divide. And in our state, where there's access readily available in most of Maricopa and Pima County, up here in the rural part of my district, we have real challenges with parents having to come home from work and then give their child their phone to use as a hotspot in order to access the internet so that they can do their homework or their school at home during this pandemic. This is unacceptable. We have to make sure, and I will do my best to make sure that all across the state of Arizona, we create and put in the infrastructure to have the technology so that our children and our families can have access to reliable broadband throughout the district. When we expand this broadband, we're going to create a great sense of relief, not just for the children who want to do their homework, but for the parents who are working hard in their businesses to make sure that their children can have this great education. It's just something that has to be done, and I will be a strong voice to make sure that we get that access. I will also be supporting the bond in Humboldt Unified School District and the override in Prescott Unified School District to make sure that we are working to equalize, to have equity for educational access in this time and in this time of the pandemic, but also as we go forward. Education is going to be changing some. Everyone needs access to internet technology, and I will fight hard for that when elected to the State House for Legislative District 1. Amber, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
My bad. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, technical difficulties over here, folks. So there are many rural and semi-rural areas of LD1 who are often overlooked in policy discussions. How will you ensure the workers and business owners in these areas have their voices heard in the legislature?
Well, I've lived in this district for 28 years, and I've also lived in other rural areas earlier on in my life when I was living in different places. I've lived in rural states in the Midwest, and I also lived in rural Utah for 3 years. In fact, when I was living in Utah, where I was living, that county had less than 20,000 people. There was one stoplight, and we dialed 4 telephone numbers on the phone. I mean, it really wasn't all that long ago. I guess it was long ago compared to the age of my staff who are here. But it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. And there is a beauty and a quality of life available in rural America and in rural Arizona that you don't have when you're living in an urban environment. But with that, living in the rural environment and semi-rural environment, you don't have as many people speaking up. I have that strong voice. I have lived in this district for 28 years. I value the rural perspective, and I will bring that voice to the state legislature. We need to make sure that our rural districts are taken care of for our economy in terms of technology as well as infrastructure. And I will fight for that when elected. I am not run by anyone. I'm not run by special interests. We have received donations from many, many people, not over 9 out of 10 of whom are in this district. So when I get to the legislature, I will represent you and the needs that you have. And that includes the needs of our rural district.
Great. Okay, just a reminder, if anybody has any other questions for Judy, feel free to use the Q&A function here in the Zoom webinar, if that's how you're watching, or comment on our post on Facebook Live. We'll accept questions from there as well. Moving on to our next topic, we have a couple of questions about how to better support our workers in LD1. The first question on that topic, LD1 is a home to a growing economy fueled by workers who are being priced out of the housing markets in the cities they work in. How will you ensure that available affordable housing expands to accommodate our economic growth?
Well, we have to make sure that this district is a place that has a growing economy in order to be able to make sure that we as a state and a state legislature, what I can do from the state legislature to make sure that we've got affordable housing up here. We've got to show that that investment is worth it. And this is Prescott, and this district, Prescott is the center of this district, is considered the crown jewel of Arizona. We are an historic district. We have the gorgeous areas down in Cave Creek and in the deserts down in Carefree and Cave Creek and near Anthem. And then we have the absolute beauty of the mountainous areas up here over a mile high. So we need to make sure that the district is seen as a place worth investing in. And then I will fight very hard to make sure that there is affordable housing. As I mentioned earlier, we got some what was supposed to be low income housing in Prescott, but that's been priced out. It's way more expensive than what people can afford living up here, especially because we pay up here what's called a pine cone tax. And it makes it very difficult for people who are raising children to be able to live here with the high cost of living without having access to affordable housing. So I will fight for that and bring together all of the stakeholders to make sure that they understand that investing in housing that is affordable for business and for our economy is going to help continue to grow our economy, which provides that safety and that sort of edge so that we don't have to worry about losing in this district. We will continue to win and grow.
Okay, and our next question on the topic of supporting workers. As you know, well-compensated workers are necessary for an economy to thrive. What legislative action can be taken to ensure that workers in LD1 are paid a living wage and that our business owners are able to afford to pay these, wages?
Well, I can tell you right now that I haven't been endorsed by the Teamsters Local 104, which is one of the largest unions in Arizona, the Southwest region of carpenters. I've also been endorsed, I will say, by Stand for Children and Save Our Schools. So the fact of the matter is, workers are people who are generally trying to raise a family as well. You're trying to make it. And while Arizona has not been the easiest place for workers to thrive over the years, that is what I will bring. It is one of my values. And I will work to bring forward the concerns of workers to make sure that when I am down at the state legislature, that we make sure that people can be paid a living wage. Arizona did increase the minimum wage. We need to make sure that we continue to move in that direction and support business owners as well as workers to be able to for business workers to be able to afford to pay the wages and to make our district and the cities and beautiful tourist areas within our district a place that brings in folks from out of town who will spend their dollars and go away happy that they spent time in LD1. I will work very hard for that.
Wonderful. So while we're on the topic of supporting workers, we actually had a question submitted through the Q&A. So Sam, do you want to go ahead and read that?
Sure. This question, what can you do to help retain young people that grow up here to have employment?
That's a terrific question, and it's a deep concern of mine because I have children. And one of them has left the district and, at this point in time, probably would not be able to come back here and have the kind of job that would pay what's needed to have a lifestyle where he could have, my grandchildren and raise my grandchildren here. I'm very committed to this because I did raise my children here. And so one of the things that I would do to make sure that young people can go off to school and come back and make a living here is I am focused on jobs of the future, creating that infrastructure in terms of broadband access throughout the district, and then encouraging all kinds of jobs in renewable energy, in tourism, in ecotourism, which we're a great spot for that, and also in healthcare and in healing, which has been my profession forever. So this is a beautiful district that we live in. People like to come here to rejuvenate, to heal. People come here to retire, and we want to make sure that there are also great jobs that provide for services for the plethora of retirees who move here to enjoy the beauty of this district. I will focus on that very strongly, one of my top issues.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to go ahead and move into our next topic. So our next topic is addressing the impacts on the economy of the current pandemic. So first and foremost, many businesses have been forced to either reduce activity or close completely during this COVID-19 pandemic. Judy, yours is included in that. So in your view, what is the path to safe reopening for businesses?
We have to address the concerns of public health before we can safely and with a clear conscience and with any kind of peace of mind open the economy in Arizona. So we need to address the virus and suppress the virus. Currently in Arizona, our numbers have been going down. But you know, a couple 3 months ago, we were an absolute hotspot. And the leadership was lacking at the top. There was not the kind of guidance at the top that one would desire in order to be able to effectively function. So even though the numbers have gone down, which is great, and that has to do in part with mayors of some of our major cities being able to go ahead and set mandatory mask wearing and social distancing. At this point in time, it seems that many Arizonans have come around to the fact that it is true that we need to protect each other, that when I wear a mask, I'm protecting your health. We need to show that we care about each other. And so that's a great thing. It's not a requirement right now. So as things as the virus slows down here, people stop wearing masks. And the more people that are not wearing masks, the more other people that think, oh, I look silly wearing a mask, or maybe I don't need to wear a mask, or just going along with the crowd. I'm not interested in going along with the crowd when it comes to public health. I'm about ensuring that we protect public health so that we can open our economy, our education, and our social engagement in a real, a functional, and a sane way. And that is what I will do when elected. Make sure that we follow the science and then do everything that we can to make sure that businesses can move forward. We have fabulous businesses in our district that have done everything possible to keep that business going. Some of them are folks who we spoke to and invited to this event, and I hope that they will continue to share their entrepreneurship and their incredible initiative in making sure that they can open their businesses safely. And I want to be able to help to coordinate within the district with the municipalities, with the different levels of government, to make sure that we make it easy for businesses to thrive, and whatever little exceptions we need to make that don't hurt public health, but that help the businesses to move forward, that we work with them, that we protect them, that we provide breaks, whatever breaks we can, so that they can bring people back to work and get going again. I could go on about that, but I'll stop and see what the next question is.
Great. And our final question on the topic of COVID-19 is, what can be done to support businesses in the meantime until it is safe to completely reopen our economy?
We absolutely need to listen to business owners and find out what their needs are. Now, in my case, running a private practice as a massage therapist, there are just inherent challenges. However, I am able to do training and educating online, so access to the internet is extremely important for someone in business such as myself. I know that the folks at the Raven Cafe here in Prescott went about making sure that they could put some tables out onto the front, so beyond just on the sidewalk, but to the area where there are some parking spaces. And they went to the city and talked to the city. And so there are different ways that municipalities and that I as a legislator and we as a state legislature can work to make sure that we make the adjustments that need to be made so that our businesses can continue to thrive in a safe manner for public health. And I will work with everyone on that to make sure that we are nimble, that we are adaptable, and that we do what is necessary to protect these businesses and business owners who are going to the mat for us. Let's go to the mat for them. I will do that.
Great. Now, we did have a couple of questions come through on the Q&A, but before we get to that, I do want to just take a minute to thank the businesses that have been helping us reach out to voters and specifically promote this event. So that includes Pangea Bakery, Whipstone Farms, Completely Clean, Raven Cafe, SlackerWriter.com, Astral Glass Studio, and Five Senses. So to all of those businesses and their owners, thank you so much. We deeply appreciate your support in helping us get our message out to voters. Now, I do believe we have a couple of questions on the COVID-19 crisis and how businesses can weather that. So Sam, do you want to go ahead and ask those?
Sure, thank you. The question is, what is your plan to help new business to weather this COVID reality? I'll let you answer that first, and then there's another part of that question.
Okay, well, so for new businesses, I would hope that they would have some place that they can reach out and say, help. And, you know, as a legislator, I will do whatever I can to make sure that there is a place where businesses can go and say, what are you going to do for me? How can you help me? Here are my needs. So we have many retirees in this district who are excellent, you know, have been excellent in business over the years and have had to deal with many setbacks. None of us have had to deal with in our lifetime as business people anything like the COVID-19 crisis. So, you know, we would look to see who's out there who has any kind of ideas to help new businesses stay afloat, whether it's absolute breaks on their rent, speaking to all of the different expenses that the new business has. Where can we give them breaks? Where can we make sure that they've got time to pay things back? How can we help them stay afloat financially until we have the vaccines that will allow us all to move forward again, you know, in a sane and safe way? So that would be my job, is to make sure that there is a place that new business owners can go to where they can easily access information of people who have experience dealing with challenges like this, and where they can look for financial breaks so that they can maintain their business. And then when we get close to the other side, we want to make sure that we all work together and promote these new businesses, promote what they're about, and give them a magnified platform, whether it's in the city, the state, providing some forms of marketing that can easily be done, and showing them as the heroes they are in helping their business and helping to save our economy when we come back even stronger after we're done with this crisis.
Thank you. The second part of this question is related, but I'll ask it so you can answer any part. Can there be anything to be done on a state level to assist owners of businesses to survive 2020?
Well, I mean, that's what I would plan to do once in the state legislature, is look and see with everyone from around the state what is working. This is the thing about bringing people together and having those conversations, and at the state level having, you know, control of the budget. You know, it's always, it depends on who is in charge of the budget at the state level as to whether or not the ideas that I'm bringing forward could be, you know, executed. But I would have that strong voice in making sure that we bring all together the experts and give them a platform for communication, and make sure that we make that available online to our small businesses, our businesses trying to weather this pandemic. So that would be what I would do, is make sure that there's plenty of communication, mentorship, and opportunities to get that help, and that the citizens of my district know how to access that help.
Great. And we have another question that came through in the chat, and Sam, I'll go ahead and ask this one. So something obviously a lot of people are concerned about, in particular business owners who, you know, help pay for their employees' insurance, is healthcare affordability. So one of our attendees asks, Arizona ACA insurance is substantially more expensive than adjacent states for folks over 55. Coverage of our medical plans have higher deductibles and limited in-network coverage, with most U.S. states not having in-network services. How can Arizona be more competitive, and are there actions at the state level that can reduce costs?
So I'm not looking at this question. It was kind of long, but it sounds to me like this is talking about making sure that we all have access to healthcare, or was this access to healthcare through the businesses, or did I miss something there? Just healthcare?
Yeah, just healthcare. So he's specifically asking how can we make the Arizona insurance market more competitive and reduce costs?
Yeah, Arizona did expand access to Medicare. That is something that Governor Jan Brewer did years ago. And we do have the Arizona cost containment healthcare system for those who are not able to pay for insurance. But something that happened when the Affordable Care Act was passed is that some of the insurance companies that were here walked away. So Arizona, access to the Affordable Care Act in Arizona became very expensive, high premiums. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make sure that we renovate the system that we've got right now to make sure that everyone can access affordable health care. Because right now, even though the Affordable Care Act provides for all of the kinds of things that we were concerned about, those of us who maybe did not have health care. For myself, for instance, as a breast cancer survivor, covering pre-existing conditions was a must for me. Now, if people can't afford health care, they're going to go back to not getting health care, going to the emergency room for their care, and then those costs get handed on to Arizona taxpayers. So we need to look and see what can we do to make sure that folks who have not been able to afford health care can afford health care, so that we don't get it taken out on the back end through taxes that we pay to cover the costs of the many Arizonans who do not have access to health insurance. This is something that when I'm elected, I will work on very hard. Having worked in healthcare my whole life and being a breast cancer survivor, I know what it's like to stress about trying to pay healthcare premiums and pay a mortgage at the same time. So it's something that I will focus on very strongly, and I've got a strong background in.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to move on to our last topic of the night, which is focusing on a green economy, which is one of your core issues, Judy, as you know. So our first question on this topic is, clean energy is a growing industry across the country. What opportunities exist to expand this in LD1 and Arizona as a whole?
Well, this is a softball question, I gotta say, because Arizona is absolutely well positioned to be the solar capital of the world. So when we're talking about renewable energy sources, we've got it, not just in solar, although that's just absolutely at the top, but also in terms of wind. And there are many businesses that want to come to Arizona because of the beauty of our state, and in fact, to our district as well. So whatever we can do to encourage renewable energy businesses, reduce, reuse, recycle businesses, to bring together those who are doing work that is in the area of healing and healthcare. People retire to our district because it is so beautiful and so healing. So we want to protect the quality of our environment here so that we can continue to bring folks in who then are going to require the services of natural healing professionals such as massage therapists, make sure that we've got businesses that cater to folks who are getting older, so healthcare opportunities through telemedicine. We want to make sure that we've got telemedicine so folks don't have to travel so far using fossil fuels to get there and stress out. We want to have a quality of life here that allows us to continue to have the beautiful quality of air that we've got. So any kind of businesses that are going to support renewable energy, reducing, reusing, recycling, and looking to the future, we are going to develop in this district.
Okay. Okay, and our next question. Where do you stand on the growing development in LD1 and the state of Arizona at large and its impact on the environment?
Well, you know, growing our economy within a green environment is one of my top issues. And I know that in Arizona, we're going to continue to have development. People want to move to Arizona. People want to move to our district. And we're not going to prevent development from coming forward, but what we can do is we can manage the growth, manage the development. And we want people to have thriving businesses here. Let's make sure that we don't ruin the environment as we develop this district and this state. We don't want the reasons why people want to move here to be ruined when we have people move here. I'm glad that I was able to move here, but I want to make sure that we do this in a way that is responsible. And so that means making sure that, you know, along with letting people know what we're not going to tolerate in Arizona, letting businesses and development know what we do encourage, what we do want them to do, providing incentives for those developers who are going to use xeriscaping and water capture systems in their development, making sure that we're looking to the future, not just a couple of years and how much money can be made by developing this, but making sure that it is planned so that we can see what it's going to look like 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, and for generations to come. I'm absolutely committed to that. And I believe that's how we maintain our quality of life and continue to grow an economy and have a state where people want to move to and where they can do so in a safe way.
Okay, and our final question on the night.
Safe for the environment as well as people. I meant to say.
That makes sense. Okay, our final question for night. Judy, do you believe environmental protections help or hinder economic growth, and why?
I believe that environmental protections help economic growth if what one is doing is considering what's going to happen for generations to come. We've been talking about how can we have a district and an economy that allows for our young people to grow up and then move back here and raise their families here. Well, the only way we're going to do that is if we protect this beautiful environment within which we live. The earth is here. She needs our help. I was around in the days when, you know, we were just polluting the environment without any concern, just thinking that there was nothing, that there was no consequence. And we found that there was, and there still is. So let's take care of it now. Let's be looking forward now and looking at innovative solutions to the problems that we've had in the past, and looking to see how can we develop an economy that is a green economy that allows businesses to grow, while at the same time making sure that we keep a sharp eye on businesses that might actually be making a profit at the expense of the environment. So I support environmental protections as a way to absolutely help our economic growth and take care of the quality of life that we all deserve and that we want to provide and pass on to future generations.
Alrighty, well that actually concludes our slate of questions. We haven't seen any others come in through the Q&A or on Facebook Live. So Judy, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for you to say some closing words.
Great, thank you, Amber. You know, we all live here together on this beautiful blue-green jewel, you know, spinning through space. We all share the same environment, and we share the same air. We've learned about breath clouds during this pandemic. So I see us all as connected. I see the economy as connected to the environment. I see education connected to the environment. I see social engagement connected to the quality of our education. So my commitment is to bring people together and have those conversations so that we can all win, so that everybody gets the hand up that they need, so that they can run a business, have a thriving business, and bring their grown children back here, and we can continue for generations to come to have LD1 and this state of Arizona be a place where people want to come and take care of it and grow and thrive together. Thank you so much for being here, and I ask you to vote for me, single shot, when you get your ballot starting on October 7th. Thank you so much for being here.
Great, thank you. And yeah, I do want to just note that this is the first of many town halls that we will be having over the coming weeks up until the election. These town halls are going to be covering issues such as the environment, education, healthcare, and labor rights. So be on the lookout for those dates. And if in the meantime you do have questions that you want to hear during these events, please feel free to email them to info@judystahl.com. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, guys.